All right, so let me give everybody a second to rejoin, and then I will pick off where I left off. And apparently, I shouldn't use music. So there's that. That's hilarious. I was not expecting that. Oh gosh, I'm reading messages on Google Classroom now. Hi, Dalen. Hi, Gavin. I cannot believe they kicked me off. That is hilarious. Let me send a message through Remind real quick to tell them there's a new link. Since apparently I can't play the welcome back song, which is unfortunate, but absolutely hilarious that they kicked me off. New link. Okay. So I sent a message. So I was about to go over, now where did I put that paper? Oh, right here. I was about to go over the main functions of the skeletal system. We talked about the integumentary system, which is your skin. It's the largest organ in your body. And it helps protect organs, helps touch, pain, cold, pressure, and includes organs such as the nails. And if you remember, there were 3 layers I talked about in the video, which is your epidermis, which is the layer that you can touch, the dermis, which is the middle layer, and then your subcutaneous layer, which is the fatty layer. And yes, we need fat to protect our organs. It's our layer of cushion that keeps our organs insulated and protected. So today we are talking about the skeletal system, and I was saying that our essential question is, what is the primary function? And then what are the main organs? So every system that I teach you guys, that is the 2 questions I need y'all to be able to answer, is what is the main function and what are the primary organs? So I started to go over to the main functions, and I'll start that back over since YouTube apparently told me I'm not allowed to play welcome back. So primary functions. The primary function is to form a solid framework. So a framework is the reason we can stand up, right? Our bones also protect our internal organs. And when I got cut off, what I was explaining was that if you think about the bones that actually their primary job is protection, those bones that are for protection, that is where your really primary, most important organs that you cannot live without are located. So our brain, for example, you can't live without a brain. So your brain is inside of your cranium, and your cranium is considered a bone for protection. Your ribs and your sternum are considered bones for protection too, and they protect your heart and your lungs. So if you think about some of the other organs, like your intestines and your kidneys and your liver, you can live with just one kidney, right? You have to have at least one functioning kidney, but you can live without one kidney. And then with your liver, you can actually live with just a small portion of your liver. If they have to remove part of your liver, you can still function fine with just a small portion of it. So, but the parts of your organs that are vital for your survival, they are protected by those protection bones, like your cranium and your sternum. The other organs, that aren't behind bones, right? They're protected by that fatty layer in your skin that I taught you guys about. Your skeletal system also provides a location for your muscles to anchor to, which I'm going to show y'all a model in a second of a little arm I made when I go over your muscular system. And then the main organs, very simple, the organs of the skeletal system are your bones, okay? So that's what we're going to look at. We are going to look at your bones. So I already talked about your cranium. So this is Bob. This is Bob's head. And so we're going to put, let's see, make sure y'all can see his whole body. So I'm going to put him up nice and high. All right. This is Bob's head. So your head bone is called your cranium. And then the next protective bone is your rib cage. So right here, this is more of your organs, your bones. And so we have our ribs. You have these bones back here that are in your back. That's your scapula. And then you have your vertebrae, which are all these bones coming down. So right and left arm. Anybody know? Let's see who can Google the answer first. Yeah, tiny head. Yeah, Bob has a tiny head. He also has a tiny brain. He's not as smart as my students. Anybody know what this arm bone is called? Let's see if somebody can tell me what this arm bone is called. If you know what it's called, then go ahead and type it in the comments while I put on his other arm. Good question, Bethany. We're going to talk about ligaments and tendons. Arm bone. Thank you. What is the scientific name for the arm bone? And some of you guys are laughing, and that's my hint. What is the name of the arm bone? Yes, humerus. Very good. It is humerus. So, in case you didn't know, when you bump your elbow and you get that painful sensation, and you're like, "Oh, I hit my funny bone." Well, now you know where that saying came from. It's because the bone that you hit is called the humerus. Did you guys know that? That's why they call that, "Oh, I hit my funny bone," because it is humerus. All right, bottom two arm bones. Let's see who can figure out what these two bones are called. You have two bones in your forearm. Let's see. So funny. I know. Don't you love my corny jokes? I'm sure y'all missed that. Yes, your radius and your ulna. Your radius and your ulna. So let's give Bob here his right arm bones also. All right. Now the hands. Now the hands, each one of these bones has slightly different names. And as you can see, there are a ton of bones that make up your hand. So let's see who can tell me what the bones and the palm of your hand, what are those bones called? Fingers. Yes, you do have fingers. Hopefully 5 on each side. But remember, we're in science class. So what is the scientific name for your fingers? Tarsals. Yes, good. We have tarsals. We have and then the smaller as you goes down, the name before it, changes. All right, so I'm going to cover it up because the answer's on this. We need Bob's hips. He can't be dancing without them hips. What do we call your hip bones? Good. Metacarpals, carpals. Yes. Pelvis. Pelvis. Yes. This is Bob's pelvis. So let's give him some hips. Oh, I need to put a little piece there. He's breaking his back. Oh, what happened? Oh, it's stuck to my finger. Okay. Now we need these very, very large bones. What do we call this bone? Now remember, bones are organs. Bones are organs. Yes, the femur. The femur. The largest bone in your body. The femur is probably one of the most dangerous bones that if you were to break it, can break because you have a really large artery called the femoral artery that runs next to your femur. And so if you break your femur and it completely separates, it can actually slice through that artery and it can cause you to bleed out. So a leg break is something that's usually taken very seriously because they want to make sure that that femoral artery hasn't been injured by the breaking of your leg. If you just have a slight fracture in your leg, it won't damage the femoral artery. But if you completely snap this and you damage your femoral artery, you can lose a lot of blood really fast. So, and one thing that we won't go into too much detail in, but with your arteries and your vessels, they are typically named based on the bones and muscles they are near. So hence your femur, and then you have a femoral artery in each one of your legs. So let's give Mr. Bob some legs. All right. He almost has a full body. What is the name of your kneecap? Look, it's so tiny, a little tiny kneecap. Anybody know what your kneecap is called? Yes, patella. Okay, so cool thing about your patella. Did you know that babies are not born with a kneecap or a patella? They have no kneecaps. Isn't that crazy? Babies are not born with these bones. They don't have kneecaps. They develop them over time, but they're not born with them. Another cool fact about babies is babies actually kind of have more bones than they do as adults because their cranium, all these bones, are not fused together. They're actually separated, which is why babies have that soft spot on their head because that soft spot is their brain. So that's why you're not supposed to touch it. If you've ever touched a baby's soft spot, the reason it's squishy is because that is their brain that you are squishing. So don't do it. Eventually what happens is that their cranium, the bones in their skull will start to grow together and they will fuse and that spot will be gone. So don't touch a baby's soft spot. So you're probably wondering, why would they be born with these bones not fused together and separated? And that's because babies have to come out of the mother's womb, right? And so in order for their heads to fit, the bones have to be able to squish together as the head squeezes through. And so those bones not being fused or bound together and not being movable, they're separate plates. And as the baby's head comes through, those plates squish together and the head can actually get a little bit smaller so that it can come into the world. Now, over a year's time, those bones do grow together. That part of their brain that is only being protected by a piece of skin eventually is fully protected as the bones completely grow together. So babies don't have kneecaps and you can touch their brain. Kind of gross, I know. Okay, I forgot about this protection organ before I give Bob over here his legs. This is your ribs and your sternum. Your sternum is a protection bone along with your ribs because it helps keep your lungs and heart protected, which obviously are vital organs. We cannot live without a heart or lungs. So here you go, Bob. Sorry, I forgot about your rib cage. Okay. Let's give him some support up here. He's kind of fallen down a little bit. All right, so now he's got rib cage. All right, so now we are down to his bottom half of his legs, his shin bones, and his feet. Oh my gosh, Michael, that is crazy. Michael said that he could almost touch my brain when he cracked my head open when he was younger. That is scary, Michael. Yes, tibia and fibula. Yes, tibia and fibula. Very good. One tibula and fibula over here. And then another one over here. So cool, interesting fact about why it hurts so bad when you get kicked in the shin is because you don't have a lot of fat cells on your shin. So that's why fat is important. If you've ever been whacked in the shin, it hurts because there's nothing there to cushion it. So another valid reason why having body fat is important. It protects and cushions. And so you can feel the difference between being like hitting your stomach versus your shin. Okay. Your shin, it hurts. All right. Now we have our tarsals. We got our little feet. Okay. Let's see. We got our left foot of him here. And then we have a right foot here. Oop. All right. So this is your skeletal system. Once again, primary function is to provide a framework of your body and to protect organs. Now, one thing that I didn't talk about yet is that your bones make something that has to do with blood. So, who knows what your bones make that has to do with blood? Who knows what your bones make? He does have long leg bones. Bob's all legs. Oh, there we go. He is all legs. Some good guesses. Okay, so your bones make red blood cells. So one of the assignments that I'm going to hopefully be able to post is the story of little Arpsy. And little Arpsy is a red blood cell. And it's actually a really cool story because Arpsy tells you the cycle of his life. And so he starts off in the bone because that's where he's made. And then he enters into the blood vessel. And then he talks about his life as he cycles through the body and kind of what happens to him. It's a really cool story. But not having access to all my stuff that's at school, I got to try and find it. If I can't find it, hopefully I can make a trip up to my classroom next week and grab some more stuff. So, all right. So we've done the integumentary system, and now we just did the skeletal system. So what does the skeletal system do? It protects the body. It produces red blood cells. And it stores minerals. That's why it's important to make sure that you get some form of calcium, which usually most people get their calcium through eating things like cheese and yogurt and drinking milk. If you don't like milk, you got to make sure you're getting calcium from somewhere, because calcium is what keeps your bones strong, and you do not want weak bones because that means your bones are more likely to break. And then here's Bob's son, Bob Jr. Put Bob Jr. right here. All right. So the organs are the bones. So when it comes to, we have bone cells, which are cells. And then a group of those cells together make up bone tissue. And then bone tissue forms a bone. So we have an organ like the humerus. And then all of these bones in the body make up the system, the organ system, which is the skeletal system, okay? We don't have an organism yet because he's just an organ system. He's just a wall of bones. So that leads to the last and final part of today's lesson. And so I'm going to talk to you about the muscular system. So let me grab my pages. And if you missed it earlier, just to make you feel like you're in class, let me grab my gallon jug and take a sip. Since everybody used to joke around about my ginormous jug of water, All right. So muscular system, what is our essential question? It's very similar to the essential question for the skeletal system. What is the main function of the muscular system and how is it structured? And then what are the main organs in this system? Let's see. We are going to put this over here. All right, so the muscular system consists of over 640 muscles. So obviously, we are not going to build a muscle dude because 640 muscles, people, that's a lot of muscles, okay? So the main function of the muscular system is it allows for movement in the body. So it is the reason that we can move our mouth and talk. It is the reason that we can move our arms. It is the reason that our digestive system can push food through our body. Okay, muscular system is what causes movement. It helps us maintain posture. You know, most of us have bad posture, but it does help you maintain posture and stand upright. It is what helps you keep Bob's bones standing upright and not just a pile on the ground. And then it does generate heat. So we kind of already simulated this in the lab that we got to do before spring break when I had some running and some sitting, and those that were running were starting to sweat. The more you move those muscles, the more heat that your body generates. And so muscles do help maintain that body temperature. There are 3 types of muscles. Each muscle is a discrete organ and can be made of skeletal muscle. This is probably the muscle that you are most familiar with. However, there are 2 more types of muscles that I'm going to introduce to you guys today that you probably didn't realize were muscles. So, skeletal muscles are muscles that move bones. So skeletal muscles are the muscles that are going to move Bob if he wants to walk off this wall, which that'd be kind of creepy. But if Bob wanted to move, that is what would help him move, his skeletal muscles. So skeletal muscles, we have control over those. We have control over our skeletal muscles. We tell our brain when to tell our muscles to move. So we call that voluntary control. We have voluntary control over our muscles. For example, some of you guys haven't been getting out of bed till like 10 o'clock. I know. And so if you don't want to get out of bed, guess what? You don't get out of bed because you have control over your muscles. However, when you're ready to get out of bed and actually be productive, yes, hopefully some of you guys are doing that, then you have control over that. You tell your body, all right, let's get out of bed and let's go do something. Let's go do some schoolwork. The next type of muscle is your cardiac muscle, and that is only found in your heart. This is a specialized muscle fiber that is only found in your heart. And what makes it so different is that this particular type of muscle fiber does not fatigue. And so why is that important? I don't think you want your heart getting tired, because if your heart gets tired, then it's going to stop. And so cardiac muscle is a very specialized type of muscle fiber that is not found anywhere else in your body except for your heart. And it does not tire. It keeps doing its job over and over. So I can't tell my heart beat faster. I can't tell my heart stop, thank goodness. And I don't have to think about my heart beating. So if I had to think about my heart constantly beating, the minute I forgot to tell my heart to beat, boop, I'd drop over. That's it. But your heart is called an involuntary muscle. And involuntary means that we do not have control over it. Our brain automatically tells our heart to beat all day long. When we exercise and we need our heart to beat faster, our brain tells our heart speed up. Our brain tells our heart slow down. Our brain has automatic control over that. And so we call the cardiac muscle an involuntary muscle because we have no control over it. The next group of muscles is also involuntary, and that is smooth muscle. And this is found in all other organs. So your liver, your kidneys, your small intestines, your large intestines, your colon, your lungs, those are all considered smooth muscles, and they are also involuntary, which means that you don't have control over them. I do not have control over my stomach. That's another smooth muscle. And so it's involuntary. When I eat, it's going to digest, right? And so we don't have control over it. We call it involuntary. If we have control over it, we call it voluntary. The only muscle that has voluntary control is your skeletal muscles, the muscles that you should be working out outside. Get some sunlight, guys, so you can get that vitamin D that I talked about, and then tegumentary system. So I made a muscle model. Normally you guys all get to make one of these, but we're not at school. So I made one and I'm going to show it to you. All right. So here's my arm. Okay. The white yarn represents the muscles. So we have the humerus, and then we have the radius and ulna, and then we have the bicep muscle right here. You know, the one that the guys like to flex and take pictures of themselves flexing. And then we have the tricep muscle, which is the muscle on the back of the arm. All right. So hopefully my model works. I was playing with it earlier and it worked great. So when you contract that bicep muscle, it causes your arm to bend. So if you stick your arm out and you contract your bicep, this is your bicep. So my bicep muscle tightened and my arm got shorter. It bent. Now, this is the tricep muscle. This is the muscle on the back of the arm. It causes your arm to straighten. So let me pull my tricep muscle and my arm goes straight. So tricep, bicep. Bicep causes the arm to bend. Tricep causes the arm. Oh my gosh, I just ripped. We only have a bicep now, no tricep. Okay, so the bicep muscle. The point of this model is to show you that muscles move your bones. Muscles move your bones. Without your muscles, your bones can't move. This is skeletal muscle, and this is the muscle that you do have control over. And then I'm going to have to do surgery later to repair the tricep because it tore. So quiz time. I have some different types of muscles. And in the comments, I want you guys to just type if it's smooth muscle, cardiac, or skeletal. The choices are smooth muscle, cardiac, or skeletal. Okay. Yes, we are not going back to school until May 4th, and let's pray for May 4th because I really want to end the school year with you guys in person. I miss you guys a ton. Sorry, I'm catching up on some of the side chat. If we were in class, you know what I'd be saying. Shh, listen. Okay, so our first one, what type of muscle is the heart? What type of muscle is the heart? Priscilla, one of your answers are correct. You put 2. We have 3 options: smooth, cardiac, or skeletal. Very good. It is cardiac. So next question, is cardiac muscle voluntary or involuntary? You can put V for voluntary and IV for involuntary. So is cardiac muscle voluntary or involuntary? V for voluntary, IV for involuntary. Yes, IV, involuntary. Involuntary. Some of you guys aren't good at multitasking. So you know what? It's a good thing it's involuntary because you would forget to tell your heart to beat, which means you would bloop. Okay. The digestive system. Digestive system. Smooth, cardiac, or skeletal? Smooth, cardiac, or skeletal? Anybody? Smooth? Yes, smooth muscle. Very good. Smooth muscle. So voluntary or involuntary? Voluntary or involuntary? IV for involuntary, V for voluntary. Voluntary or involuntary? Involuntary. That's why when you eat, you don't have to sit there for an hour after you eat and go, okay, stomach digest. Okay, move it to my small intestines. Nope, your body does it for you because it's involuntary. All right, what do I have next? Bicep and tricep. Skeletal, cardiac, or smooth? Skeletal, cardiac, or smooth? Skeletal, cardiac, or smooth? Skeletal, yes. This is the only type of muscle that is voluntary. So I gave y'all the answer on that one. It's the only type of muscle that is voluntary, which means that you control your skeletal muscle. So if you want skeletal muscle, you gotta move. Sitting in front of the Xbox and PlayStation or Nintendo Switch or your cell phones is not going to build skeletal muscle. So guys, get outside. The weather is amazing. What is this one? Smooth, cardiac, or skeletal? This was meant to make you guys laugh, by the way. Nice. I'm glad you're outside, Michael. That's a perfect way. Take your technology outside with you while you're doing school. Ha. It is the buttocks, but it has a scientific name. Is it skeletal? Smooth. Yes, very good. It is skeletal. So this is your gluteus maximus. Also, like someone said, the buttocks, but your gluteus maximus. Why did I pick this one? Number one, it's funny. I teach junior high, so it's funny. And number two, this is the largest muscle in your body. Did you know that? Your gluteus maximus is the largest muscle in your body. And it is skeletal, which means it is voluntary or involuntary. Voluntary, V for voluntary, IV for involuntary. Voluntary is your gluteus maximus is skeletal muscle. So is it voluntary or in? Yeah, very good, Stephanie. It is voluntary. Good, Michael, Priscilla. All right. One more. One more. Kidneys. The reason this kidney looks different is because it's like if they slice it in half so you could see inside of it, which I'll teach you guys about this system eventually too. So kidneys, smooth, cardiac, or skeletal? Smooth, yes, smooth muscle. Smooth muscle. So last thing, and then we are done. So now you have been taught about the integumentary system, and I have introduced the muscular and skeletal system. That the screencastify that I did for you guys, I'm going to do another one of those, and then I'm going to have another Google form that has just some questions from today's live streaming and from the screencastify. And then I'm hoping I can find my little artsy article so I can read and post that. And then I'm going to have some, I'm hoping to maybe do like a fun Kahoot live game with you guys. I'm looking into doing that, or maybe Quizlet, or we can even still do our other game that we like to play so much, where you compete for money. I'm drawing a blank on what that game is called right now, but I have it saved on my computer. So muscular system allows the body to move when attached to bone. That is why I taught you guys the muscular and the skeletal system together, because one doesn't work without the other, right? So allows the body to move when attached to the bone, allows movement of internal organs such as the heart. And then we have, this is a weird looking lung, but we have a lung. And then of course, here's your intestines. All right, guys. Well, that is it for today. I really do. Yes, Gimkit, thank you. Our teachers doing Zoom. So some teachers were doing Zoom. Some stuff happened. People are hacking teachers during Zoom meetings with their students. So our district said that teachers aren't allowed to use Zoom. So they're going